It is day 2 of our 40-day word fast, and I want to just kind of update everybody that we're taking 40 days, and we're really going to just try to fast and purge from negative conversation, any words, snapbacks, any rebuttals, anything that comes out of your mouth or your thoughts that really are negative. We want you to just stay positive for 40 days. It's not my idea. It's actually from this book, the 40-Day Word Fast. Can you get that? The 40-Day Word Fast, book by Tim Cameron. And what I'm doing really is just kind of summarize it. I'm not going through the book word for word. Actually, it's a good book to read. If you want to get a copy of the book, you can get a copy firstbcfranklin.org. We set up a whole page dedicated just to the 40-day word fast, so you can get a book there. But if you don't get the book, here, let me just kind of talk you through these steps. And I wanted to show it to you because I don't want you to think I was making it up. But chapter 2 is on judgment. Look at that. Render no judgment. And that's where we are today. Day 2 is this idea of really trying to get to a place where we stop judging people. To judge someone is really whenever you take it upon yourself. Matter of fact, Cameron says to judge one is to make an evaluation as to the value or the quality or the capability of someone else, or one who thinks you are better than someone. Look, here's the key. The key is understanding that if you're going to stay positive, you can't look at other people and predetermine their value or their capability. I mean, really? What makes you think that you have figured somebody else all the way out? Nobody has that level of discernment. You can't always interpret a person's heart. Now, it's not judgment if you just see them or see what they do or see the fruit from the action. No, that's just, seeing them. But whenever you see an action and then you come to some final conclusion about a person as a result, then there is some judgment. A matter of fact, a simple example, maybe you want to speak to someone, but they walk past you and they rushed out of the door. Now you're frustrated, not just because they walked past, but because you have judged them by saying because they walked past, they were insensitive or they didn't care about you. That's the judgment part. And what we're saying is you will save yourself a lot of frustration if you choose not to judge people so much. Not to judge how people look, not to judge what they do, not to assume that you understand their motives or you know their heart. So often we live outside of what is truth simply because we make judgments and we are absolutely wrong about people. Let me give you just a couple of things we talk about when we talk about judgment. One, whenever we talk about judging people, the first thing you got to understand is that whenever you judge someone, judgment is a boomerang, right? That is simply to say that if you judge someone, know that God also judges you. Matter of fact, that's probably the most famous scripture we read in Luke chapter 6, verse 37, where it says, judge not and you won't be judged. So you want to be careful because whatever standard you hold others up to is also the standard people hold you to. And let's be honest. There have been times you made mistakes. There have been times you have erred. There have been times that you've hurt people and you know your intent wasn't to hurt them. Your intent wasn't to make a mistake. You weren't trying necessarily to do wrong, but it happened. What if every time you made a mistake or every time you hurt someone or every time you did something wrong, people assumed that was your character? They felt as if you were trying to defame or discredit or you were intentionally trying, to cast shade on people. Then you would always be belittled. You would always be labeled less than what you are, and that's not the case. That's never the case. And so we want to be careful about judging others that way when we ourselves would not want to be judged. So that's one reason you don't want to judge. Another reason you don't want to judge is because judging is attempting to take God's place. Matter of fact, whenever you judge someone, it is judging God Himself. So look, here's the key, and Cameron talks about it. Cameron talks about it in this book. He deals with this idea that if a person did not mean wrong, if they did not mean to make the mistake, and you then judge them by saying no, they did mean it, but God has given them grace and mercy for whatever has been done, then what you're really saying is not that they are a bad person, but that God is bad because He's given them grace and mercy. And you want to be careful about whenever you decide to, judge God. Look, if God gives them grace, you ought to give them grace. If God gives them mercy, you ought to give them mercy. Whatever God's doing, you want to be a part of that. And so be careful about judging to take God's place, or judging whereby you even attempt to be the judge of God, right? Another reason you don't want to judge is because it's almost impossible to get it right. Remember, you can't see a person's heart. You don't always know a person's motives. Oftentimes, it is from our own ill motives that we assume others have ill motives. It's almost as if you were in their place and you had endured whatever they endured, then you would have done it with ill motive. But just because you would have done it with ill motive doesn't mean they did it with ill motive. And Jeremiah says that the heart is deceitful among all things. And I'm not just talking about theirs, I'm talking about ours. That sometimes when we start to judge, we already begin the judging process from a very negative place. And you want to be careful about trying to predetermine what's in people's heart. So for that reason, we don't want to judge. Another reason you don't want to judge is because it makes you a spectator, not a participator. So look, if you're participating in this Christian walk, then you will constantly be looking to encourage people. You are constantly looking for opportunities to give good news. You are constantly looking for ways to lift people up and push them forward if you're participating. But spectators will watch others who are supposed to be Christian or supposed to do well, and then judge them or pick out their ills, pick out their wrongs, see all the things they did in mistakes and errors, and highlight that, because that's what spectators do. You've seen it before, right? With athletes, or probably ex-athletes, people who aren't playing anymore. They used to be rec league champions, or they were lettermen in high school or college. They never played a professional anything. But every week, every night, they're sitting, watching their favorite teams, critiquing everything that happens. All the referees make the wrong calls, the flags are wrong, the fouls are wrong, the guy dropped the pass that he was supposed to catch, or the quarterback threw it the wrong way, the shot should have went in, he should have dunked that, right? All of those sideline commentaries, or better yet, couch commentaries, are being made, and they're being made as spectators. That's what happens when you judge. When you judge, what God does is he sees that you're not in the game. You're not participating. You're not living out their life or working with their family, working on their job. You're not walking in their shoes. You aren't serving in the ministry they are. You're just watching from the sidelines and making meaningless comments about what they're doing. Look, we don't have time for that. This 40-day fast is about making sure you curtail all of the judgment. Get to a place where when you see people, you look for the best in them. You look for the potential in them that can be maximized. You look for ways to compliment them. My mom, my grandmother, every woman in my life has always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And day 2 of the 40-day fast is learning how to render no judgment. I know it's the end of the day for some of you. Maybe it's the beginning of the day for others. But today is a day that you decide to no longer cast judgment on anyone around you. 1, because judgment is like a boomerang. 2, because judging people is like judging God, and you never want to take God's place. 3, you want to make sure that you refrain from judging, because whenever you judge, it allows you to live in deception, because it's hard to be right about what you're really trying to judge. And then 4, be careful that you don't become a spectator when God really wants you to be a participator. I think if there's anything else I would tell you about judging, I would say that whenever you judge, it does nothing but frustrate you. When was the last time you judged someone with a smile on your face? It doesn't happen. Whenever you judge someone, you frown, you get angry, it disappoints you, it causes some type of friction in your own life. Look, free yourself. Be more encouraging, more empowering than you will be judgmental. And I believe, as does Tim Cameron, that you'll live a much healthier, successful, and Christ-like life. Day 2, 40-day fast, render no judgment. Hey, listen, you guys can get more resources at firstbcfranklin.org. Blogs are posted there. Free ebooks are posted there. You can get a copy. I think it's only like $4.99 of Tim Cameron's book there. There's some conversations that are happening there. So if you want to kind of just hang in there with us during this 40-day fast, check out firstbcfranklin.org. Entire page dedicated to help all of us be successful during these 40 days. Be blessed.